Something is amiss in the writing room when an hour-long serialized show's episode concludes with the plot barely moving forward and you learning little to nothing new about the characters or the setting. Although episode 4 of The Rings of Power is tediously sluggish, The Lord of the Rings has always been a patient series. Since the Harfoots are absent this week, Elrond has grown suspicious that Prince Durin and Princess Dysea are keeping something from him in Khazad-dûm. The action goes a little farther in establishing Dysea as Durin's equal. She is quick with a bluff, though Elrond doesn't quite fall for it because he can tell the truth by lip-reading and using his uncanny elf eyes. The finding of the extraordinary metal mithril, which would later be utilized to build the armor worn by Bilbo and Frodo, turns out to be what they are concealing. The same material will prove to be so valuable that the dwarves will go too far in their search for more, turning Khazad-dûm into Moria. The Rings of Power seems to be sliding into the same prequel trap as Solo by attempting to provide the backstory for every character we've already heard of instead than focusing on delivering a fresh, entertaining tale. Dysea singing to the stone was lovely, but it seems like the miner should have been the main subject of the scene rather than a mineralogy lesson. There are a few good parts to the Numenor plot, but it focuses too heavily on Isildur's sister Irian, and the program hasn't yet given us many good reasons to care about her. It may have been quicker if Isildur's dismissal from naval training due to his focus on the West had occurred last week. The fact that he continues to hear strange whispers and doesn't really want to carry out his father's plan doesn't really accomplish anything. The Numenor plot has a few good moments, but it focuses too much time on Irian, Isildur's sister, and the program hasn't really given us any good reasons to care about her. It could have happened last week and saved time for Isildur to be expelled from naval training for having his sights set on the West. He truly doesn't want to follow his dad's plan, and it doesn't help to show that he's still hearing strange whispers. The events in the Southlands are by far the weakest aspect of this episode. Adar seems to be an elf that's gone through some hard times, but his cryptic talk about lies, rebuilding the world, and becoming a god feels like pretty boilerplate villainy, and so does his cliched decision to free the highly competent Arondir just to tell the humans to stand down. If Arondir hadn't arrived in the nick of time to save Theo, Adar would already have the hilt he's searching for. He could have just sent a message by having a bunch of orcs show up around the tower at night and demanding the humans surrender. The Lord of the Rings and all of Tolkien's Middle-earth works have had such a strange but pervasive impact that even adaptations based on his concepts begin to feel appropriative of the fantasy environment as a whole. Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time series, which last year earned its own extremely pricey Prime Video version, was inspired by The Lord of the Rings. Theo's hilt feels very much like a new version of the dagger, and the ruby-hilted dagger Mad obtains from Shadar Logoth corrupts him in the same way as Sauron's rings corrupt everyone who wears them. It's difficult to expect a show based on the works that established the Western medieval fantasy tropes to employ them in a more inventive way, but the end result is that episode 4 barely contains anything that genuinely seems novel. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe.